Frank the Tank, back from New York, everybody.
That's right.
Yeah, this table was in the little collaboration studio we had at the old office. You remember it?
No.
Yeah.
This
it
wasn't
had,
the...
No, it had higher legs on it. That's probably why you're not remembering.
Oh, this was the one in the office next to the conference
correct.
room.
Yeah.
Got it.
And we took the legs off and we were like, holy shit, this is a perfect podcast table. It's huge. It's beautiful. It's, I don't know, solid.
How'd you take... What do you mean you took the legs off?
Like we...
Did you have the...
Yeah, we undid the legs and then we put check underneath. It's a desk. It's on top of a desk.
I know this desk.
Ingenuity.
This was the desk from... This was Cody's old desk.
Correct. This was the desk in the lobby.
Got it. Well, Garrett, good to be back.
Out.
Thanks for having me.
This, man. Yeah, of course. We had to get you in the new studio real quick, man. This we're excited about it. We're here in Ybor City, the capital of Tampa culture.
Yeah. So remind me again how you found this place.
So, well, it was listed online. It was listed on MLS.
Okay.
Kind of a funny story though. The people that own the building hit us up to be on the show. It's a design firm, architecture firm. I think they do like project management, stuff like that. We'll get them on the show soon. But we walked in and it was like, oh shit, like you guys are the owners. You guys hit us up about the podcast, Small World. And it just ended up being a good relationship, good kind of landlord-tenant thing. And then also, it's a beautiful old historic building right here on 7th Avenue above Coyote Ugly. So it's like the Tampa Bay Developer Podcast, all about Tampa history and culture and real estate and all that stuff. And here we are in Ybor City. It's the perfect location.
What's hilarious is Small World, right? I hear that and I say that more frequently every day. It's one thing in the real estate industry, and then when you buckle it down to real estate and then Tampa, it really is a small world.
Oh, it literally is a small world.
Like the ecosystem is so tight. I was talking to Kaiten about the map that we talked about last time we were on the show, and I was like, Kaiten, we got to release this thing to the public and just let them use it for whatever they want. It would be great exposure. We put our attribution on there. Like branding is out.
100%.
I think it's a great piece. A lot of people are hitting us up for it. Kaiten, my business partner, is not as in tune. He does his own thing. He's very much like he's a creative. He loves his time by himself, creating, doing what he does. Whereas I'm more extrovert, out in the,
You're the sales guy.
Yeah, out in the world, like talking to people. And I just know that the appreciation for that map was astronomical.
Yeah. At a minimum, it's cool. At a minimum, you want it because it's cool.
Right.
For real. That's the reason why a page like Tampa Tomorrow has been successful. Tampa Bay Business Journal, all the articles they put out about all the development coming to this city, it's an exciting thing. So to visualize it, dude, of course people are interested in it. It's the coolest freaking thing ever. So for me, it's like candy, bro.
Right. Well, my whole point is, it's like, I know how much buzz there is. It's like you see the same, what's the right way to put this, right? Like, you just know everybody, right? You at some point when you're here long enough, you get to know, the young crowd, the older guys, like who's making shit happen around here, and you get a real pulse, right? It's not, you're not too far. The barrier to entry to actually getting a pulse on what's going on and who the movers and shakers are in this market is not, it's not that high.
No.
Right? So what I said to him,
it's still a small town.
Right. So what I said to him is like, dude, release this, let people print it out, hang it up, have it all over town, and he's starting actually another mapping company solely for mapping, like custom maps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wild. And I was like, dude, what better way to get exposure than to just release this? But he's been an artist and designing for so long. He's like kind of shies away from like releasing stuff for free, if you will.
You got to look at, is your goal to make money from the map? No, the goal is exposure and let people know who you guys are.
Well, what else are we doing with it? It's like we just did it for our own enjoyment and pure desire to see what's going on in the city. So it's like, dude, let everyone benefit from it. It's sick. It's an awesome piece of art. It's also just awesome to show what's happening in Tampa. A lot of it, I mean, there's some buildings in there that we know will never get approved, but it's still cool to see what could be, what will be. You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting to see what is at least being put on paper. like I would say a majority of the stuff on that map is not just pie in the sky. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you could build, this here? It's really not that. It's more like, no, these are, there's some funding there. There's, the property ownership is correct. Like there's like the gears of the machine are in place for a lot of those projects to happen. That's why I think the map is interesting, because you're not just looking at like some interesting rendering that is like, oh, here's what Tampa could look like in 50 years. No, this is like kind of what is on paper, like 90%. This is what's going to be going down
what will be
in
there
the next decade.
Yeah.
That's why it's fucking cool.
That Tampa Tomorrow, the guy whoever runs that account, posted something really interesting. I don't know if you saw it. It's the age range from 25 to 35. Like
Pull it up, Ty. Are you busy? What are you doing?
Come on, hook your boys up.
If you're creating content, then well,
can we get to it? Time. Can we get to it from here? Anyway, there was a post, something about the most affluent 25 to 35-year-olds are moving to Tampa.
We talked about this. What's interesting is we talked about this months ago. I think it was maybe the first time or the second time you came on the show. We talked about Tampa is going luxury. There's an incredible amount of people with money, young professionals, educated people moving here.
Well, we also talked about the whole
first post right here. Sorry.
Yeah,
Frankie.
no, this is it.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, and so we talked. We made the comparison with Meat Market, and we were saying, when I first moved to town 3 years ago, I could walk into Meat Market, get a table, no problem. And then recently walked into Meat Market, happened to get it, I got a table, and my buddy was like, dude, how'd you get a table? It's a crazy time, la, 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 la. And I was like, dude, I just walked in and got it. And we were saying how that shows, there's a change, right? And what's going on, longer wait time.
A tangible, real metric besides a news article or an Instagram post. A thing in real life that you experience.
Right. Like
you're waiting in line for something that you didn't wait in line for a year ago.
A micro interaction. And what's hilarious, and we saw this 3 years ago with Ishan coming here from Miami, right? Mm-hmm. But since Ishan has moved here, a lot of his friends from Miami have moved here too, right? And I feel like maybe the younger crowd in Miami, and this is all speculation in my head, but the way that I interpret it is, there's a young generation in Miami who say, I am living in a city that is built. I'm living in a city that is here, been here, built, established.
Yes, correct.
There's a Miami on the west coast of Florida that's just getting started. Let me go move over there and start my own legacy over in Tampa.
I think there's like a plant the flag mentality. I agree.
Sure. And that excites me.
But why does New York work well then?
What do you mean?
Well, if you're a young person, why do you think you could make it in New York City? Like the idea that you could be a Rockefeller in New York, it's already so established. But I understand what you're saying about something new.
There's an allure to New York City, and not saying that there's not to Miami. I'm saying Miami natives. I'm talking more of the group that grew up in Miami, from Miami, born, raised, watched their families build $1 million businesses there. And realizing that it's super oversaturated. Dude, this is wild. So I
feel like I'm about to get stabbed in the face with this. Hold on.
Sorry.
You're fine.
It's my boy. Always looking out. Thank you. So we have a builder down in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, LaBelle County. Okay, he builds 200 homes a year down there, all spec homes, and he commutes from the east coast of Florida, over to LaBelle County.
Wow.
To do his office is in LaBelle, and he commutes.
Where's LaBelle?
It's down by Fort Myers.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, it's like nothing to write home about. But it's up and coming, right? Like there's land available, and there are pioneers who are entering the space and building homes. But regardless, he was mentioning he said to me, Frank, he's like, these are my two options. He's like, I could sit in traffic for all of these hours, driving to an office in Miami, or I could spend the time with a straight shot actually moving.
Yeah, it's a feeder market. I've always thought about Sarasota in that way. Like once Tampa, we go back to the map, right?
Dude.
Once that's built out, why wouldn't there be wealthy people that are doing business in the city in Tampa, have some sick beach house in Sarasota and kind of like,
Dude,
I don't know, helicopter, just like
it's-
they do Long Island to Manhattan, right?
It's
Like,
happening now, though. I
yeah.
was just talking about this with Ryan, who's the owner of iFundCities. I think I was just in Sarasota yesterday. I know you spend a lot of time there. I love Sarasota. I love the downtown. I love the beach towns. I think it's gorgeous down there, and I think it's the next city.
Grab a chair, bro. I'm sorry. Tyler's just standing up. You can grab a chair. They said we could.
Go get one.
We'll be here for a little bit. Okay.
Go grab one. I think you're going to start seeing spillover. Like, I think Sarasota is going to be the next, and you know better than I, right? Like, I don't know what the demographics are there. Like, I don't know what the wealth looks like in Sarasota. I'd imagine it's some old money, but I think you're going to get a lot of people who are going to start pushing out of Tampa down to Sarasota. I have interest in doing it. Like, I love Sarasota.
It's very appealing. Yeah.
When I landed in Tampa, I really loved the calm nature of the city. I felt like I could do big business here, but I could also maintain some form of a relaxing lifestyle. And I think that's totally shifted, dude. Like the nightlife here it's popping. Like
It really is, man.
Yeah,
It's kind of crazy.
It's a
to
good
imagine.
city. I have people who want to come and visit.
Tampa's always had a business sense to it. Like downtown has always been a suitcase city, you know, people walking around dressed
Only office,
up.
though.
Yeah, 9 to 5, only office. I'm not saying 24/7. I'm saying
Yeah.
like 9 to 5. You know, Tampa has always had a metropolitan identity. And I think now that we've grown so much, that'll translate into Water Street and it'll translate into other neighborhoods in the urban core. Like if you drive around Water Street, you'll see people dressed up very, very nice, having
Sure.
business meetings and stuff like that. You're not going to find that in feeder markets around Tampa. Like in Sarasota, it's much more casual. It's kind of a vacation destination. But I do think you're going to start to see some wealthy people that might have some penthouse in Tampa at the Ritz or Pendry or the Edition or whatever.
Have a home.
They're going to have a home just like they would like Long Island versus Manhattan type deal. I think that's on the table. Look at Vinnick. Do you know Vinnick owns the top floor of the Edition, the penthouse of the Edition, and then he owns a mansion, beautiful waterfront, 15,000 square foot home on the bay in Sarasota.
Had no
So
idea.
like that, it's already there.
Yeah.
Right. Like the commute, for someone wealthy is already there. It's already happening.
To all of my Tampa natives and Tampa lovers, is no hate at all. But personally, I think I would prefer to have a home down in Sarasota, and Tampa would be more of my want to have a good time, want to go out at night, want to go see a show.
Well, I think that statistic that Tampa Tomorrow pulled up is perfect, Tyler. If you can pull that back up, if right, like air quote young, rich, high earner, like whatever you want to call this demographic moving here. I think the statistic was maybe 25 years old to 30 moving to Tampa, and it's also someone that earns more than $200,000 a year, okay, which is pretty incredible for someone who's that young, right? That's a phenomenal salary. If all those people are coming here, you're gonna have an ambitious culture like you do Manhattan, obviously on a much smaller scale, but it's gonna be metropolitan. Like it's like city, it's fast, it's dressed up, it's business, it's like quick.
When you're in it, it doesn't feel smaller scale, right? Like when you're in New York, you have your lane, right? And your lane by nature, because of being in New York, is going to be fast paced, right? But like if you're in business in Tampa, particularly real estate, you're going to have a fast paced life because there's a lot of competition here. I would say that the market is saturated, especially for what you guys do, right? There are a ton of realtors, so you have to do something different to set yourself apart. I mean, even the lending space, there's a ton of competitors who are looking to lend here because why not, right? Mm-hmm. It's one of the hottest markets in the country. So you can come here and yes, granted, it is no New York City, but it is still extremely fast paced. From when I got here to now, like I don't feel any less movement than when I was in New York.
God, that's incredible for you to say. Do you think that it's a Tampa thing, like specific? Like, Do you think you would have had a similar experience in Nashville or a different city?
I mean,
it's hard to say. I
think you picked another like up and coming. I think there's a lot of. I mean, I know there's a lot of development going around in the suburbs of Nashville, and that's a.
Suburbs though, man, but I'm
The immediate.
talking city. I'm talking metropolitan, walking on the street, suited up. You know what I'm saying? There's this different flavor to a modern day city versus even like a Miami. Miami, you're in the car, you're pulling up. Whereas you go to Water Street and you go to downtown, it's
It's turning into
very
that though. It's turning into the like, the luxury cars and the it's
yeah.
it's it's becoming sceney, it is, and that's fine. It's everything you want to see in a major downtown area, right? Like
Yeah.
if you lived here and you're an investor, you want to see that type of growth. You want to see young, affluent individuals moving to the city. Um, I think it's everything a business person looks for in a high growth market. Different than Nashville, where you're attracting a lot of. I think there's a lot more tourism to Nashville than there is to Tampa. Would you
100%.
agree? Right?
100%.
People are coming here to build their lives. People go to Nashville for their bachelor party or bachelorette party. Like it's a different type of crowd that's moving in and out. What does it say? I haven't read this entire post. I think I read.
Is this the one, Tyler? Can you pull up the young professional post, which I believe was the last post?
Downtown Tampa rent reaches nearly $3,000.
Yeah, but don't you agree that that's kind of cheap for what you're getting? I mean, if you like take New York or even Nashville, some of these places are insanely expensive. I just think that, as more people move here, the rents are going to go up. What do you expect?
My buddy's a leasing broker in New York, and I think he recently posted on his social a 550 square foot studio in Manhattan for like $4,500.
Yeah.
And every time I see it, I write him a little emoji like crying face laughing. It's comical to me.
It is comical.
You know?
It's amazing what people will pay to live in a dense urban environment that has an opportunity for them.
Yeah, but talk about what you're paying for. I mean, you don't spend too much time inside your apartment in New York.
That's what I'm saying. $3,000. We're on sale, baby. Let's go. We're
Yeah.
cheap. Like, come on. You can come to an amazingly. Think about Water Street too. Brand new. Like that whole area is brand new. You get to live there for $3,000. There's amazing restaurants. It's like, I don't know. It seems like a good deal to me.
See, I'm after having done like the Class A, apartment building, living in a Class A building versus like living in a 5-story walk up in Manhattan. I personally, I don't think it's worth paying for the amenities. Like I'd rather get, a better location. I mean, you can't beat
Well,
the
I was
location
referring
on-
to like specifically Water Street, where you're in a building.
Yeah.
It's not like a garden style, some bullshit out in Brandon,
Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, I hear you. I think personally, I would prefer to live up in the Hyde Park area in like a walk up building, no elevator. I think it's better pricing, and you're still getting the same exposure to the downtown area. You have Hyde Park. You're still seeing and have exposure to the rest of the city. I think it's extremely expensive downtown. Are you looking for something, G?
I am looking for something. It's this crazy statistic. And right as you said, are you looking for something? I just found it.
What is it?
Tampa Bay, 200 list of the area's largest private companies, has 39 newcomers. So the top 200 companies, okay, the largest private employers, the top 200, 40 of them are new to the area. That's a significant statistic. That means not only, we have to combine statistics, right, to get a big picture of what the hell's going on. So we talked about the young and the rich continue to flock to Florida. People between the ages of 25 and 35 earning over $200K. People are moving here in droves in that statistic. Then you look at companies, private employers. Of the top 200 in Tampa Bay, including Sarasota, Tampa, Pinellas County, Clearwater, St. Pete, 40 of those are new companies to the area. So it's like the influx of not just rich people, rich, young, ambitious people, wealthy, older individuals, companies with high-paying jobs. Like it's all coming in this direction.
What you would know better than I, but what are our biggest industries? I mean, naturally real estate. But like what else is moving here? I know tech. Then you think tech, what
Tech
type
is
of
a new.
Well, what type of tech? I mean, tech's extremely broad. You have real estate tech, financial tech, you have, it's technology is kind of all over the map. So what industries drive our economy? Like, who are these employers? What I know you have TQL, obviously, right? They're all over my office. But like, what?
There's a That question comes with a problem because the answer really is not enough. We don't have enough of a foundation to support a lot of these wealthy, not wealthy is the wrong word, but I would say ambitious people with high paying jobs who are highly educated that come here for opportunities. So unfortunately, there's not a huge industry. We don't have, this huge company that came here with 15, 20,000 jobs. Healthcare is big here. Government affairs is big here. We have tons of local municipalities that have a ton of jobs.
But isn't that
Tech is a new thing. I mean, that article just came out about some new, tech company. It's Tampa's the tech hub. It's
sure? But isn't it better at least what I'm seeing, because nothing is at the forefront that sticks out to me where it's like this is the industry that runs Tampa or that
the legal industry is very big. We do have the largest port in terms of tonnage in Florida, not cruise ships, but cargo. We have the largest port here. There's oil, and not a lot of manufacturing. We just don't have a super, super solid job base. And that's why there's young people moving out of the city.
I hear what you're saying, but I think it's more mid-sized companies that are moving here for the lifestyle, right? So it's not like any one major industry is like, hey, and I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying what I see more of is smaller businesses that may have, anywhere from 10 to 20 employees that are moving shop here solely for the lifestyle.
And even less. And even small businesses with a few people.
Even smaller.
I think that hit the nail on the head. I believe that is our backbone.
Yes.
Because the common consensus really is the fear that we don't have an industry. Austin is like the new Silicon Valley of the South, right? Like there's these unbelievable markets that get an influx of really high paying jobs to the tune of like 5,000 workers, 10,000 workers. We don't really have that, but I think what we do have is these companies moving from around the country that have 5 employees, 10 employees, 20, 30, whatever, small businesses that are like, dude, let's live in Tampa, right?
Doesn't that spread out our economy's risk in theory, right? It's like I could go do a loan.
That's an interesting point.
Well, I could go do a loan. I could do a $3 million home for a luxury single family build, right? And now my exposure is $3 million to this one asset. If it tanks, I'm losing $3 million. Or I could take that same $3 million and go fund, let's call it 20 new builds, smaller spec homes. And now my risk is spread out across 30 projects as opposed to one individual. So I look at it like, it's like, one massive employer in Austin, tech employer who's got 1,500, 2,000 employees decides, hey, we're leaving.
That's a really good point. And right now,
that's a huge shot.
Austin is going through a bubble burst. They've had issues with that, where there's a lot of people moving out because property and.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've had a high level of inflation over the last few years, and it's kind of taking a turn, more so than it is here. And
we had the highest inflation rate in.
That's because we were in the gutter. So relatively, we came up from nothing.
Sure.
That's why.
Sure.
Where I think Austin had some hippy dippy type shit over the last couple decades. I mean, they've had a growth run for a long time.
Does that slow down? Do you think the pricing, like, do you think people who had ambition to move to Tampa may be changing their minds now?
Yeah.
Seeing you do.
It's a problem.
Yeah. Is it?
Like Venny, like our friend Venny.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried to help him find a home, and for what he was looking for in terms of price and location, it didn't necessarily exist. And if it did exist, the house had problems, and he couldn't find anything. And unfortunately, that has kind of led him down a path to not live in Tampa. And I think the same is true for, I know another woman, her niece is having to move away from Tampa, another UT graduate. Dude, we don't want to lose fucking educated young people. You're a college graduate, you're ready to, work hard and make money and contribute to the economy, and you have to leave because the prices here are too high and there's not any opportunity. That's a problem no one's talking about. That's an issue.
You have generational wealth moving into the city. I think, a lot of the young professionals that are moving here, and I know, I'm friends with a handful of them, and a bunch of them actually. And
let's talk about something a little controversial, and I don't want to get too crazy with it. I just want to put it out there and have like a very neutral discussion, even though if we had a couple more Coronas and we were off air, the conversation could get absolutely crazy.
Hit me with it.
I would get canceled. Go to the last post on Tampa Tomorrow. I saw a comment I just want to mention and discuss. So someone said, hopefully the influx of a younger demographic will help get our state politics back on track too. The state politics of Florida, no matter what side of the aisle you are on, is the reason we've had a bull run over the last few years. And I hope people don't take that statement as something controversial because it's a fact, okay?
Yeah.
Let me just also say that our governor, unfortunately, I believe has taken a wrong turn over the last few months. I don't know what his goal is. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. He's disappointed me, frankly, to be honest with you.
I agree with you.
Okay, there's that. But the idea that our state politics have been off track for the last few years since he's been in office, that's not true. Okay?
I mean,
and the only reason I mentioned that is because that comment got a lot of likes. I just hope people who move here really understand, like, the reason we've had a bull run, the reason our economy is so good, the reason why Frank just mentioned about all these small businesses moving here. Small businesses want to be in a place that's very conducive to their operations.
Yeah.
And in states that they were pushed out of is actually the opposite policy that our state has had for the past few years. So it seems like there's someone's getting the wrong impression here. I know we're moving into an election year.
Yeah, there's always going to be
always some bullshit.
There's always a few.
Let's not get it twisted, is my point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. Tax-friendly state. I mean, you're right. It's one of the biggest. I mean, that's why I came here. That's why I was so open to leaving my home of my entire life, was because of, I don't know if politics is the right way to.
COVID fucked everything up.
Sure.
No matter what you think.
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a more tax-friendly state, and that was appealing to me. Young guy, building my business, like, it made more sense for me to be here. And I think one of the biggest draws to Tampa is that it is conducive to entrepreneurship.
That is, yes, that was my point, where it's like we are creating an environment locally and at a state level where you can come here, you don't pay a state income tax, it's beautiful weather, there's not a lot of red tape for licensing, really in any business. I mean, I know there's certain issues with liquor licenses and bullshit.
There's also more distractions. There's a lot of distractions here. I was driving around with my buddy today, and he mentioned, he's like, Fred, I don't know if you realize this, but when it gets cold in New York, everyone kind of what?
I thought you were gonna say, like, the women, dude. The women here are so beautiful. I can't get anything done.
No. That's funny. We might have to cut that out.
David, we're fun. We're fun.
No. What was I saying?
Fuck. I'm sorry.
No. You're good. I remember. So when you're up north, right, in New York City, and I hate to, like, constantly bring this back to New York, but
that's a great comparison, though.
Yeah, because it's rapidly growing, right? And will it ever be New York? I don't know, but, like, does it have the potential? Sure. When you're in New York, in your winter month, it's gray, it's gloomy, it's dark. Like, you stay inside, maybe you're not drinking as much, you're not partying as much. So there's, like, this time period where you get, like, recentered and refocused, and it's like, hey, these are the winter months, like, maybe I'll go grab a beer with a friend. Here, dude, any day, any weekend, like, the weather's always good. It's always beer drinking time. So, like, there's that too, and that's a, I don't know. It's just not.
I didn't even think about that. That's interesting, though.
Right?
How in the winter everyone's a little bit like, all right, like, let's take a little time off.
I don't want to put my boots on in 5 layers, and then I have to hang my jacket under the bar.
I've never lived in New York.
Yeah.
I've only lived in. I went to FGCU for a year, Tallahassee, Florida State, Sarasota, and Tampa. Okay, like, my limitations are small when it comes to living in a place with snow. Okay. Is there a vibe in New York moving into, like, fall, winter, where, like, some transactions happening or some business dealing, and it's like, we'll catch up in spring. Like, let's just wait till the flowers come popping out.
No, the slow time is
because here
summer.
It's like the hurricane. We'll talk about that after the storm.
Well, the slow time is the summer, right? Like, you have summer Fridays in New York. Everyone's out in the Hamptons in New York in the summer times. shorter weeks, deals aren't getting done. And then the winter months, it's like, we're in it. Like this is when business gets done.
In winter.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like there's not as much.
It's opposite to what I
Dude,
thought.
If it's freezing cold out, you're not like, let's go to the club.
Yeah, you're like, I guess we'll try to make money.
Let's stay inside. We'll hang out. Maybe we'll hit like. So it's just it's wild. It's a different lifestyle. But I do think, to bring this full circle, a lot of these younger professionals are moving here because, one, fast-paced, growing city, conducive to entrepreneurship. There's a lot of room to run here. There's a lot of growth left here. But now we're at this like inflection point where it's like, okay, can you only move here if you're wealthy? Can you only live well here if you're wealthy? Like, who wants, and I can't speak for everybody, but I don't want to move here from another metro area and live in Wesley Chapel. And I'm not saying it's bad to live in Wesley Chapel. I think it's a great area.
Well, you're a Manhattanite.
Yeah.
Like, you're coming from Manhattan. There's a lot of people from New York coming here. Wouldn't you imagine the people moving to Tampa want a comparable lifestyle in terms of like being in a dense urban environment and having amenities at your disposal and like, and being in a metropolitan area versus like, oh, we're going to leave Manhattan and move to the suburbs and live in a house like out in the country?
Dude, it's different. It's different. Like,
I guess it depends where you are in life.
Yeah.
Someone who's young and ambitious probably wants to be in the city. They want that similar buzz as Manhattan.
But I think you can get that buzz here as a young kid. Like,
no, I'm saying here as in like in the urban core versus like, oh, we'll just rent an apartment out in Wesley Chapel.
yeah, you want to be in here. Like it's tough because in New York, right? Like you have crazy rental rates, but you also have salaries to back it up.
Right.
Like the salaries are outrageous in New York.
Shitload.
You make comparable to what your expenses are. So it's like, you could speak to one of your buddies who has the same exact job as you in New York City, and he's making $120,000 base while you're here making $60,000 base salary. But it's comparable to what the expenses are in New York City. What I've noticed over the last 3 years is that we have quickly caught up.
Yeah.
We have quickly caught up to it. And that's what, like, I'm really curious to see what the next 3 years are like, because the graduates of UT, maybe they might take a second thought as like, do I want to live in Tampa? It's so expensive. Vinny's a great example of that. Like, Vinny was presented an opportunity to move to, Charleston,
which is another very hot market, and they might see the same problem, pushed 5 years out as more people move there.
Well, Charleston's super old money. Their metro area is not comparable to Tampa.
No, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of younger people, who want to make money moving there,
right?
And it's already a saturated,
it's like
expensive market.
Did Tampa already outpace itself? Like, did we already? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Did we already? Did we already cap out? Is where I'm.
Dude, that's it. Because if someone asked me that question, I'm afraid to say, dude, yeah, we did. Like, we might have. We really might have fucking capped out. And the reason is we don't have supply. We don't have enough apartments and we don't have enough
high-paying
supply.
jobs. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what I was talking about was the cost of living. I'm talking about rents. If we want to broaden that statement out and just be like, life is too expensive here, then I agree with you. We're like, there's no jobs to support a life in Tampa.
You would know better. So let me ask you this. I've never been in the job market in Tampa, right? Like, I came here doing what I'm doing. So it's like, let's say I had to start fresh tomorrow, fired, company goes under, like business stops, everything. Like, is there somewhere I can go? How opportunistic is it in Tampa for me to go and find a job that will provide me the money that I need in order to?
You have an apartment downtown, like live your life.
Yeah, but like how much of that is here? Like, I don't know. I've never tested that market.
I think that amount has been greatly reduced over the last 18 months.
Is it reduced, or is the competition just jumped? I mean, it's like
I think it's I think it's what you said earlier, where we've kind of caught up and we maybe have hit our ceiling for now. Maybe things change when phase 2 of Water Street gets built, meaning there's more apartments, meaning there's more supply, meaning there's more retail and offices and more businesses, and there's just more availability of jobs and places to live.
Are there enough young professionals making the money they need to support a $3,000 one bedroom?
It's the second part of what you just said, making the money they need to. I think the idea that there's not enough young professionals is silly. There's certainly enough young professionals moving here.
No, but making enough money to actually live the life.
But that's the key.
Right.
So there's been an unbelievable the University of Tampa is the ultimate answer to any study you could have about this. Historically, those kids would come down from the Northeast, come here,
Yes.
graduate, bail out, go back up north. Now, maybe not now, but the last few years, they've been staying in Tampa. Tampa's an awesome place to live. The cost of living is low relative to what you get. They don't want to go to New York. It's shut down. It's crazy. The crime is rampant. I know it's getting better, but New York has definitely taken a turn downwards. We can all agree.
Real quick, just sidebar. It's funny you say that because I talked to my buddy, like all of my best friends still live in New York, right? And I was FaceTiming with one today, and I just asked him, I'm like, hey, do you notice any increase in danger? Like, do you feel less safe? And because there was never a moment when I lived there where I wouldn't walk any street.
Yeah, but you're a fucking boxer, bro. Like,
But
what are you worried about?
That aside, I'm just like, he doesn't, and I'm going to draw a comparison to what we just dealt with here, right? So like, we just had Hurricane Idalia, and I had a bunch of my borrowers call me and they're like, hey, Frank, how'd you make out? And I'm not downplaying anybody that like went through something in the hurricane. I feel for you, and that stinks, and I'm sorry. But I do believe the media does a very good job of finding the biggest puddle they can and turning it into this massive issue. And so I think you see the same thing in New York, where it's like, yeah, you can blow certain things out of proportion. You also have millions of people all in one particular area, and you can make it seem a lot worse than it is. Again, not downplaying it, but like you have to go off of like actual genuine experience living there or being there, because people were like, Frank, did you make it out alive? Did the hurricane crush you? And same thing last year with Ian, and it was horrible.
A good comparison.
It was horrible.
I see what you're saying. You're comparing someone living in New York, looking at the media, talking about the hurricane, versus someone living here, watching the media, talking about the crime in New York. Yeah,
so it's
I
like,
get it.
It's all, they love the fear-based, and I think it's funny, like there's a difference between actually talking to someone who's living there, who's doing it, versus consuming the...
But, you look at the statistics, man, and the crime did go up.
For
and they've
sure.
had some fucking problems.
For sure.
Problems that we didn't have.
For sure. Now, my buddy is also like, we have differing views, so I wasn't surprised. He's like, no, not at all. But he would also not lie to me, like he's in the mix, and he would tell me if it felt weird. I just find it interesting. Like all my bars were like, "Hey, what's going on?" I was like, "Dude, literally, I drove downtown the next day. Like, was my office flooded a bit? Yeah, but like, am I an a-hole for downplaying this?"
Was your office flooded? No.
Well, it was like the because it's right on Harbor Island.
Did water come up the fucking?
No, dude. I mean, it's elevated like 16 feet above the water.
But water did come up on the walk right there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, so I think. Well, let's close up what we were talking about, because I do think that's an important conversation. I think it's a problem that, back to what we were saying, there is a lot of UT students that are now graduating and they're going, maybe Tampa,
maybe not.
I can't get a job. Like maybe it's not the right thing. It's very expensive. Mom and dad don't want to pay $3,000 a month anymore. Like that's a problem. That's a problem for a metropolitan area, to have college educated people go, I can't find a job. I can't get work. It's too expensive. I'm leaving. That's a problem.
What do you know about office, like the office market here in Tampa?
I'm not that. I'm a residential guy. I mean, I have some.
Because I would just
investments and shit, but like,
I would be curious. Like, are we developing new office space? Like,
I don't think office space is the problem, though. I don't think the space. I don't think the availability of space is a problem. I think the problem is the influx of people so quickly that prices have skyrocketed to a level that just doesn't make sense for the college-educated kid or maybe even the company to move here. I mean, it takes a lot for a company to move to an area. The numbers have to work. They have to understand, okay, where are my workers going to live? It's a big decision.
With the development, though, and with the price increase, I do believe comes a lot of opportunity. I mean, we could look at Tyler as like a pure example of this. Decided not to take the college route, wants to get right into real estate. Like that's why we keep hammering. It's like it's very conducive to entrepreneurship. I think there's a ton of opportunity here. Do I think there's like the prototypical find your company, stay with them for 20 years, 401k, retire with them? I think that's like out the door, more or less everywhere, right? I think here it's more join the smaller company, make a name for yourself. Maybe you get out of college and it's like in New York, you would live at home for a number of years before you could actually afford to move into New York City, right? Like let's call it a year, right? So a lot of people would save up money for a year. I mean, they hit you with like first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. It's like you're writing a check for 12 grand before you even move into the city, which is wild. So like people take the time to do that. I think that is the culture shift we could see here. Like, hey, Tampa is so flush with opportunity. It is actually worth it for me to rough it and commute 15 minutes into the city, in order for me to grow into the city. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but that's what I'm talking about earlier with a true city, metropolitan city, walkable city, where it's like, is Tampa going to be referred to like New York is? I want to move into the city. And is Wesley Chapel, Brandon, Sarasota, are those going to be like the Long Island and the suburbs? Is that what it's going to look like?
I think instead,
I mean, we're just bullshitting, speculating, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's my actual experience was, hey, I have a job. It's paying me a starting salary in New York, and it doesn't make sense for me economically to go and rent an apartment right now, right? Like it just doesn't. So I'm going to save my money for a year. I'm going to go and get my apartment and life will be great. I think what we'll see in Tampa, hopefully and ideally, is that there's enough appreciation for the growth in the city where these young college graduates say, I want to have a life here so badly that I am willing, and I make this sound like it's a massive sacrifice, to live in an apartment 15 minutes outside of the city and commute to my job in the downtown area, and then eventually again grow into the city. So that could be a trend, or you could see the total flip side of that is like, now I want to be right in the mix, right out of school. I want a sick apartment, and maybe you start seeing those people move to your smaller boom towns like Charleston.
That's a pinch point. I think that a lot of people end up sounding a little bit spoiled on, and I mean, I've even been subject to it where it's like, dude, you're the idea that, oh, rent is so expensive. Well, bro, you're looking in the fucking downtown urban core.
You're looking in the creme de la creme.
Yeah,
right.
Like a lot of people complain. That's such a good point, Frank.
Yeah.
Where like there's so many people that complain that rent is high. Okay, well, just go like 10 minutes away.
But that's like such a
well, then I'm not even living in Tampa. It's
I
like
know.
you could go down the Crosstown Expressway to Brandon and pay literally half.
Have a great building with
great place,
gym, pool, everything you need.
Our friends just closed on they bought it like 8 months ago or whatever it was. But like they got a place in Brandon for like high threes, awesome house, same house in South Tampa, 650. So the idea that, oh, it's a crisis, there's nowhere to go. It's like there is somewhere to go. You just have to make a little bit of a sacrifice and drive like everyone else does across America. I just think the mentality here is very metropolitan. People want to be in the urban core.
It's new. I mean, it's new, right? Like I can't speak for this. You've been here obviously much longer than I have, but was there a massive desire to live downtown 8-10 years ago?
Not at all, but it shifted. So like from the inception of Tampa in the late 1800s through about the 1940s, there was a huge urbanization, not only in Tampa, but across the country. You had a shift after that, the advent of the automobile, the freeways, suburbia, 1950s, 60s, 70s, de-urbanization. That's when Tampa Palms was built in the 80s and 90s. In the 2000s, that's when Wesley Chapel started to become a thing. You kind of saw this push outside the city. The city turned to shit. It became a 9 to 5 zone. After 5 o'clock, nothing was going on in downtown Tampa. Today, though, and probably for the last not even decade, dude, this is like a 5 year
Dude,
recent thing.
it can't be
it's
decade.
shifted opposite.
When I got here, I felt like downtown was a 9 to 5 city.
Yeah.
I would say.
What year did you come here?
Oh man, it's I'm over 3 years now. I'm over 3 years. It was
19?
no. It was
That's right about track though. Like 2018, 19 is kind of when like, all right, like kind of we're dipping back into things. And then obviously the last few years has been crazy. Like the urbanization.
I just remember when I got here, I said to my fiance, I was like, girlfriend at the time, I don't want to live downtown.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't see anything.
There's nothing to do. There's no retail. There's no restaurant.
Yeah,
like,
I don't see anything going. I'd have to commute out of the city to go, you know,
do anything.
And I would say it's a piece of me that wants to, like, there's still that piece of me that's like, oh, let's move downtown. It's bopping right now. You know, I'm down for that. Now the older, more mature part of me is like, yeah, maybe I want my own house with, you know, a yard and this and that. But dude, it's wild. When I got here, I thought it was a 9 to 5. People go to work. It was office buildings, no retail, no fun, and that's just what it was.
That is what it was.
And now it's totally swapped. Where I'm like, you know, you see Boulon and the Pearl and the Edition and 511, and there's just, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot to add to your downtown in what, 2 years, a year. Right? When did Edition open fully? Has it even been open a year?
I think it's been a year. I mean, a year and a half.
What's crazy, I remember I would have to drive downtown to pick up Isabella because she worked for the Lightning, and I would, you know, Amelie right there. And now you have the Yard House is right there. That used to just be a dirt parking lot. The Heron hadn't even broken ground.
Well, dude, that whole area, not long before you got here in 2019 or 18, whatever it was, that all used to be warehouses and just nothing, man.
Blows my mind.
I mean, that was nothing at all. And in fact, before Yard House was there was a place called Ferg's. Do you remember Ferg's? That might have. I think they demolished that right as you got here.
I'm sure I've heard about. I think Isabella. So there's
the original Ferg's is in St. Pete. It's an awesome sports bar. They had a place across from Amelie. It was a super sick spot, like massive outdoor.
What happened?
Yeah, they just bailed out, and well, I'm sure they were forced to leave by SPP, who's the developer of Water Street. Water Street wanted probably a more secure national tenant, and they found Public House. What is it called? Poorhouse, right?
Is it what?
Tyler, what is it? Poorhouse?
Where? Across from Amelie?
Yeah, look up real quick. Type in.
No, it's Yard. Isn't it Yard House?
Yard House. Yard House.
I just saw it. I was like, I used to park in this lot to pick you up. I was talking to my fiance.
It was Ferg's, then a parking lot, then Yard House.
Sure.
Yeah. So Yard House is like a national tenant. There's one in Miami. There, I think they have them all.
Oh,
over
dude,
the
they're
country.
all over.
It's amazing,
the place.
right?
Yeah.
But like, you have to have. People don't understand. Like, everyone wants local. You have to have those national franchises come in to support an urban core. Another example is we don't have retail in downtown. Where can you go buy like a dress or like fucking clothes, shoes? Like, you don't go to downtown to do that. You need to have retail. So a few years ago, there was nothing at all. Now we're getting restaurants. People need to be patient with it. And I think going back to what we were talking about with the young people moving here, it's not that they're impatient. Maybe that's the wrong word, right? But there's no opportunity as it currently exists. If someone from Manhattan or from a bigger metro moves here and thinks that they're going to get a city experience, we might get there in 5 years, 10 years, once the amazing rendering you've created gets built. We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not.
And I just don't think the money
yet.
that you get in a salary supports the lifestyle. It's too fucked up. It's too expensive to live here. You don't make enough money to support the lifestyle and the amount you pay to live here. But then there's no like shopping downtown. There's not enough of a spark to keep that young, ambitious, college-educated worker here, and that's why they're leaving.
Well, you have to service that crowd, right? Like,
That's your backbone.
I don't think anyone from UT, and granted, I'm sure there's like your handful of people that do, but like, I would highly doubt that your 21-year-olds graduating from UT are hitting Edition. Right? No. Like, probably not. You know, so you have to I think the downtown area should seek to accommodate the younger professional. Like you want to keep people here. It's one thing to have a bunch of people move here, but you also want to keep the young professionals that are graduating from your local universities. You want to keep those people here, and I think you have to have affordable units for them. You have to have entertainment that matches their age range, right? So like more, and I hate to say this, but like the McDintons of the world, like maybe more divey bars in the downtown area. What's that Irish pub that's downtown? It's fantastic.
Four Green Fields, there's a couple of them. You're probably thinking there's a Yeoman's, that's like an English pub.
Dang, you're learning me something today. No. Man.
Is it the
Irish? It's not Irish 31.
Is it in Grand Central on Meridian next to the Publix?
No. Come on. Regardless, point being, it's like
the one at Curtis Hickson Park?
No.
Where is it?
Dude, you know it. I don't know why I'm like total. What is it? No, Irish 31's the one in Hyde Park. I said that. It's the other one. Is it Lucky's?
Where though?
What? No, I feel like an idiot because I walk past it every day. It's right by Ish's office building. Bank of America. No.
What the fuck? Oh yeah, it's at Curtis Hickson Park.
Oh man. Regardless, point being is,
I think it's Four Green Fields.
I think we're so on the side of luxury that we're almost like leaving behind the younger crowd.
Right. We need a fucking.
It's got to be a mix, dude. It's got to be a mix.
I don't know if
it has to be a mix.
I totally agree with you, and I think there's a foundation that needs to be built here. Unfortunately, private enterprise kind of controls, obviously, real estate development. There are affordable housing solutions that the city partners with developers on, just like they're doing in the West River with Related. But there needs to be developers that come in, and we should talk shortly about like maybe our plans and what we want to do. But there needs to be a developer that comes in and doesn't just build strictly for profit, for luxury, but does a project that supports the economy here in a way that keeps some of these young people we're talking about here. We need a foundation that's not just addition, luxury, fucking like all the like, dude, we need some basic level shit. Maybe it's not posted in the TBBJ. Maybe it's not posted on Tampa Tomorrow. Maybe it's some low key shit, but it helps out the city, man.
Well, maybe like, maybe you just don't want to hit Edition or 511 one night. Like that's loud. It's, it's sceney. It's money. It's, maybe sometimes like, and that's, again, I keep drawing comparison to New York, and that's
if you're bringing money here though, that's what you build. That's the problem.
Yeah, but
a local guy to come in and fucking be like, this is for the city.
Yeah, but dude, what about the guys who live downtown and just say, hey, I want to go grab a beer with my buddy tonight and watch sports?
There's availability for that.
Sure, and we should add more of that, right? Like, I think that's what keeps the younger crowd around, right? Maybe you do micro units, micro studios.
Tyler, can you pull up?
Are you good on time, G?
I got a few minutes.
Cool.
Can you pull up, Tyler? It has not been 2 hours.
No. What?
It is about to expire in 15 minutes. I set that for 2 hours. What time was I here? There's no way. That thing's wrong.
I heard this phrase one time. Time, something like time flies when you're doing cool things. Or
time flies when you're having fun.
Something like
that. All right, so go to. This is gonna be hard to look up. Tampa.
Hot seat.
So I'm trying to find, there's a small development on a very small parcel that I believe is doing a good job to add to, not the luxury, right?
It's downtown?
Downtown, right off the crosstown. Go to Tampa Tomorrow, because I believe they posted it. We got to get Tampa Tomorrow on the pod. Go to Tampa Tomorrow. He probably doesn't want to be revealed. We're going to get him a face mask.
Yeah, who is that guy?
I don't know, but he's going to wear a mask on the show. We're going to get him on. He's going to have a helmet. Scroll down. It was a smaller.
Can you just throw a wink at the camera?
Building. This camera's not on. We only
no,
have
just
this camera.
who's behind Tampa Tomorrow?
Yeah, right. I feel like a lot of people know who he is.
Well, the people who are
Scroll
supposed
down.
to know.
Keep scrolling, Tyler, until I tell you to stop. Let's see. I'm sorry, people, for the dead air. This might be boring, but there's an apartment right off the crosstown that does a great job of figuring out a way to build something that's smaller. It's not very tall. It's, I believe, studio apartments. It's going to be right off the Crosstown Expressway, and it's going to be more affordable housing. And affordable housing isn't just the number that's affordable, but affordable housing is right, like great location. It's a price that's very competitive. Keep scrolling, bro. Let's see here. Hat-tricks is what you're talking about.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no shit. What does it say? Hat-tricks for the Good Wings beer. What are they saying? Oh, they're doing a second concept or something. Set to take a smaller presence in South Tampa. Okay, back out of this, Tyler. Keep scrolling because this is a good project that I really want to highlight.
Shout out Tampa tomorrow for just being on it, having everything we need.
He must spend a lot of time.
Whoever he is.
Could be fucking AI. He might not even exist. That's the thing.
Could be a group of people.
Could be an AI chat GPT generator that runs the page. Keep scrolling.
Has to be.
God, I feel like a fucking retard. Keep going. Where the fuck is this? Okay, there it is right there. Micro unit. So near Water Street, a micro unit multifamily development breaks ground. 7 floors, 104 studio size apartments, 400 to 450 square feet with bike parking spaces. This is what a fucking real urban core needs. Here we go. We commented on the post, we need more micro housing. And while we're at it, let's remove parking minimums downtown. These two in combination provide a real solution to affordable housing. No one said affordable housing should include a huge apartment with all the amenities one would expect in luxury building. It's like what you said earlier, Frank. Why do you need a gym, pool, sauna? How about a place for people to live at an affordable price? How about that? Just period.
Majority of New York.
And in fact, the majority of every city on earth that is a metropolitan area.
And what's cool is, I don't know if you guys have showcased this. When I was at The Real Deal, one of our clients was Ori Systems. Have you heard of Ori Systems?
No.
Dude, this will blow your mind. Tyler, please, YouTube, Ori Systems.
What is it?
ORI. Dude, so listen to this. Now think of micro unit concept. Now check this out. Blows your mind.
Is this that furniture you press a button?
Dude, it's bananas.
Okay,
so
let's see what we have here.
I was introduced to this. Can you go down? Scroll down. Just hit this one. Seattle.
Dude, they're doing this in that building.
Right, dude. They were on Ish's podcast. The gentleman who's incorporating Ori. So one of my first clients at The Real Deal was Ori. And when I saw it, I was like, man,
is it an American company? I don't think it is it?
I don't recall. I dealt with their marketing team, but
what city is this?
This is Seattle, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, check these things out. You can fast forward through this. Just go to the part where they show the units. So he's touring. This is a micro unit building in Seattle.
Seattle is such a good example of what I could see Tampa being in 20 years.
Tab this. Could you just hit the 5-second fast forward? I want to get to the actual furniture.
I think developers.
There it is. There it is. Go. It's right.
I think developers are afraid to build something like this because they think people won't like it. But I think that's wrong to think because so many people in cities live like this.
More or less, just a quick synopsis of what Ori Systems is modular furniture. So basically, you could turn a studio apartment into it. There you go. Right?
Fucking awesome.
So now it's your living room. Play it. You can play it, Ty.
Yeah, and then you can charge $1,400 a month versus $2,500.
And you have everything you need. I just think if you could partner and why not, right? Partner technology with, hey, we need affordable housing here. This is the way to do it.
100%. Well, I think when people hear affordable housing, they think, oh, my apartment that I live in that's like sick and fucking has a gym, but at half the cost. That's not what affordable means. Like, you guys have to understand, you have to sacrifice your not necessarily quality, but you have to sacrifice some amenities and some space to get an affordable number. You can't just have a luxury apartment at a cheap price.
I
It's
think
not
the
gonna happen.
opposite. I think most people, when they hear affordable housing, they think of not as nice. That's genuine. That's
No, but what I'm
well,
saying is, when people see a development coming up that's 450 square feet per unit, they're like, "Oh, of course it's affordable. It's tiny." But it's like, dude, that's what affordable. Like, that's the reason it's affordable. It's smaller.
yeah. I see a lot of this with the younger generation. When we go to hire, right? Like, you talk to a lot of these kids who graduate college and they want everything. They want the sick apartment, they want the high paying job, and it's like, based on what, right? Like, you guys don't really have, you haven't shown me anything other than a college degree. And so I think there's this lapse in a mindset where it's like, hey, I went to college, so now I should get the sick place, the car, the sick job, the like everything you wanted. Where that's an unreasonable mentality to me. I think it's all about earning your keep, cutting your teeth, making yourself valuable and working your way up to that. Like, living in Tampa should become the goal. And I think that's where you could combat that whole, it's like, are people going to shy away from, this is interesting. Hear me out here. So at the beginning we discussed, are people going to start going, well, it's too expensive, I don't want to live here, right? So that could be one mindset. Or the other side of that could be, Tampa is so awesome and becoming such a fantastic place to live that it is worth me like the mindset could be, it is worth me living outside of the city for X amount of years, 1-2 years, and then earning my keep and getting the privilege to live downtown.
But that's the Manhattan mentality. I think everyone moving into New York understands, like, I'm going to start out in the studio and then I'm going to like get a promotion and move to a sick apartment.
But what if Tampa becomes so sick, which it is. It is becoming so cool, right? You're by the beach, you have the downtown area, there's a bunch of great bars.
It has the potential.
So I'm saying there might, on the flip side of it's too expensive, I don't want to live here, could be it is so cool that I am willing to cut my teeth for 2 years outside of the city in the suburbs, or where I'm willing to wait, earn and build myself up. Again, Tyler, great example of this. He's like, I'm not moving from this city. I'm an entrepreneur. I realize how much growth and potential and opportunity there is here, that I'm willing to do the things that most people can't wait to do, right, in order to see success and live the lifestyle I want in Tampa. And that's like whoever has to make the decisions at the macro level for the city, I wonder if these are similar conversations that they're having. Like, hey, how do we appease the younger crowd? Or are they like, we're just going to make the city so cool and accommodate the money that the younger crowd is going to want to work that much harder and make the sacrifices that they need to make in order to live here?
I think they would be naive to not recognize losing young, educated people from the workforce and just in society is a bad thing. Like, I think they would be naive to not take that angle, but I don't know. I don't know.
You get what I'm saying though, right? Like,
100%.
Because the mindset could quite literally be, we're going to make this city so sticky, right? Where the desire to live here is so strong that the young crowd of professionals similar to New York are willing to spend the time at home.
Yeah, there's almost this impression of a young person in New York who's fucking living in a 200-foot studio, like, oh, bro, like, you're in it, like, here we go. And it's almost this fascinating, interesting thing that young people love to do. They actually like to be in the shit. Like, they like to suffer. They like to be in the studio apartment. It's New York. You're making it. Why can't Tampa have that same mentality?
Right. Yeah. So that's like kind of the flip side of it. And that's where I'm interested to see where the general...
Well, go back to that post about that micro housing, because what you're saying, Frank, this development is a part of that. Like, this development would enable a young person to only spend like $1,300, $1,400 a month.
And is that suffering? Is that suffering?
No.
Right. Is that
no.
suffering?
Suffering if you're an American kid who goes to a private school for $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's
Yeah,
suffering
yeah.
for you. Is it suffering in the general sense? Fuck no.
No.
You're living in a brand new apartment.
Right.
But
So it's all
that's what I meant earlier,
it's
though,
all
about like
perspective.
affordable housing is not supposed to be like some grand thing that's cheap. It's supposed to be a reduced level of living at an affordable price. So it gets you in the location you desire, but you don't have a pool, you don't have a gym, you don't have all these amenities. And because of it, the developer can offer you an amazing price.
You know, I've been on both sides where I've lived in the luxury building with all of the amenities.
Scroll up,
and-
Tyler. Scroll up real quick, right there in the middle. I believe, no, sorry, Newport and Fig, different complex.
You know what's funny about you could live at a building with all the amenities in downtown, but what just got announced on Harbor Island? What tenant is coming to Harbor Island? You know it, the gym. Come on.
Oh, Lifestyle?
Lifetime.
Lifetime.
So you could go and pay, you know, what, $200 a month?
Well, that's the thing. Why the fuck do I need a shitty little gym in my apartment? I'll go to Crunch. I'll go to Gold's Gym.
Right.
Is that it on the left? No, that's the one that's going up near Westland, right across the street from Westland. I think it was past Yard House.
Dude, the amount of renderings.
It's almost unbelievable. It looks really good. That's it right there in the middle.
Yeah.
What a great project, man. Studio development. Come on. 7 stories, 100 micro units, 5 vehicle spaces. Let's fucking ride, bro. We are a real city. This development is a pioneer project of us becoming a real city.
I agree.
Why the fuck do you need to build a parking garage with 100 spaces? Let the developer take the risk of saying, I'm going to build this with no parking, and those that choose to live here are walking, biking, Ubering, scootering, whatever the fuck, flying carpet, whatever
You're
they
getting me
want to
juiced
do.
up right now.
Right?
We talked about this last time. It's like, I didn't have a car.
Why does the city have to tell a developer, hey, you got to put in a parking garage with 300 spaces? Let the developer take the risk. If the developer thinks that, hey, I can get 400 young people moving here who don't want to have a car, they want to walk, dude. This development, to me, is the most exciting development in Tampa for that reason, because I'm going to bet right now that it's going to prove it'll work. It'll prove that they will fill the entire building up with people that will Uber, walk to work. They're going to figure it out. So this is a pioneer project. If it is successful, you might see the city remove parking minimums from downtown development.
Who's building this? We got to shake their hand.
We really need to shout these people out.
It's,
Who is the developer?
Riding Street.
I got to get the fuck out of here. I hate to leave right now. I feel like we're just getting started, Frankie.
I know. We're just getting into the good stuff, G. We're getting rolling.
You want another beer?
Yeah.
Okay. What we're going to do is I'm going to get you another beer. You're going to crack it. We're going to just do a cheers. We made it past 30 episodes, people.
Oh, what?
This is episode 31. 31 weeks in a row, everybody.
No.
Oh, good Lord. Frankie's spilling beer all over my table. Here, cheers, bro. Frankie,
Cheers,
I
G.
love you, dude. Always a good conversation. Let's do part 2, unhinged, okay? Beer. We need time, and we need Tyler to pull up interesting shit for us, because I swear to God, we could go 3 hours on this real estate thing.
That's right.
This project is so incredibly, unbelievably exciting, because it is going to define the lifestyle of Tampa urban living. Frankie, you got a washcloth in front of you to mop up your
Where'd this
beer.
come from? Thanks.
Listen to this, okay?
Thanks, Tyler.
Studio apartments ranging from 409 to 450 square feet. 1 vehicle space for up to 20% of the retired parking. So bicycle spaces can count towards required parking at the rate of 2 bicycle spaces equals 1 vehicle. Interesting. So it sounds like the developer made a play where they're providing bicycle spaces instead of car parking spaces to hit that parking requirement.
Dude, honestly, electric scooters will get you where you need to go around town.
Bro, I don't understand why wouldn't you let the developer take the risk? It's their money. I understand, well, if there's a bunch of traffic, I get that. But the developer is the one that is making a bet that says, I think I can build a building and I believe the people that will live there are not going to care about parking and they're going to walk to whatever they need to walk to.
Can I just hit you with one last thing?
Yeah.
This is
and then my wife is getting her nails done. She's going to be fucking pissed at me that I took it late.
Oh, shoot.
Do you guys want to continue?
Yeah, sure. Throw Tyler in here. But my just one thing to ponder before you go is one thing I always find interesting is the motorcycle and scooter culture in India. Right, India, Bali, is that they all commute via scooter and motorcycle.
Right.
And like that has never been adopted here. And I don't know. It just seems it's just interesting to me. Like because it could be a solution. It's like
People are going to be running around in tuk-tuks in the next
get out of here, dude.
few decades. I don't know.
Get
I gotta
outta
get the
here.
fuck out of here.
Part 2 coming soon.
Bye, everybody. Love you. Frankie,
You
you're
my
the man.
boy. See you,
Cheers.
G.